Good job.
Hey everyone. So, just give me a sec. Cool. So let's see how we're going. So logging, Skyback, thanks for adding in the comments and the opening up the new issue. We haven't. So we have this new issue, which is the GitLab logger issue 3, which is this one. So I'll follow up on that and see if we can get that prioritized, since we'll need that for the API stuff. So we have quite a few issues open on the labels, related to the labels. They all seem to be waiting on this chart update, which is still got a 13, no, another one. 1376, which has still got a milestone of 13. Not that one either. Just one of these has got the charts dependency, right?
Maybe share your screen so we can see all what you're looking at.
Yeah, hang on. I'm just trying to find it. Sorry. I haven't got anything to show you because I can't find the actual. They're all dependent on one chart update, which I can't see right now. Cool. So they all seem to be related to, or all waiting on this adding in this one, I believe. Is that your understanding as well, Skabek?
Yeah, I'm working on this one. We had one merge request that was merged in, but we need to touch a few more individual charts. I got 2 other merge requests that are in review, and then there's like 10,000 other charts I still need to touch. So I'm going in order for what we use inside of GitLab.com. So hopefully I'll be able to get what blocks us done quickly, and then I could just pull the other charts that we need to change to complete this particular issue over the course of time when I get the chance.
Great. And then that hopefully also unblocks you, Andrew, on your things.
Well, we'll still need to update our own Helm chart that we pull into the GitLab.com repo, and then we need to add the actual labels. So there's at least 2 more MRs that need to be finished up with the distribution team before we could do that. But yes, that's precisely what we need to get done.
Okay. Is there anything we can do to help with that work?
Not at the moment. Just time and effort, really.
Okay. Cool. Cool. So this in amongst all those, we've got Craig's stuff here. He's working on the so-called useful set of metrics. Is there anything we need to bring into this conversation for us?
Who are you asking, Amy?
I guess Jav and Skyback, like, are you aware of anything additional that we need to request for this? If not off the top of your head, Jav, can I ask you to have a read through that and check if there's anything we need to additionally request?
Sure. Sorry. Which link is this that you're looking at?
This one at the end here, 2465.
Uh-huh. This is assigned to Skyback. You're doing this, right? This is assigned to you.
Oh, sorry, am I telling the wrong? I'm sorry, totally wrong link.
There's too many Johns. Like, seriously.
Too many logging things is what I was thinking. Sorry, this one. Sorry, the one above, this one, this one here. Sorry, John.
Aha. Yes, the stateful set labels. And this is assigned to Craig.
Not to say that we have to do any work, but just it might be worth just having a check through and see if there's anything we need to request or do a response.
Yeah, I can do that.
Cool, thanks. Cool. And then we've got this one around from the blockers list, which is allow setting load balancer type for web service. I was just checking in. Yep, still a blocker for bypassing Nginx.
Yeah,
Yes,
this is
for
the
sure.
precursor. Yeah.
Yeah, it needs to happen first. And it sounds like this is the direction we want to go. So, yeah, I think I still consider it a blocker.
Okay, I'll follow up on that and see, because it's not got milestone on. What will that actually impact in terms of our work? So this will mean, I assume, that we can't turn on the bypass.
Yeah, so this once we have this deployed to production, and the plan is to get this working in the non-prod environments and then move it to production, hopefully next week. And then after that, then we're basically not relying on Nginx anymore. We'll just disable Nginx, and then we'll be able to switch to using the version of charts on master, which does the Nginx ingress controller upgrade. But at that point, since we won't be using Nginx, it will like not matter at all. That's the plan.
Okay. So if we don't get this setting type, how far can we get through that plan?
The charts change is already merged. I ran into one issue, so I created a new MR today just to fix that, and hopefully that gets reviewed today by the distribution team. If not, I expect it to get merged early next week, assuming people are out tomorrow for friends and family. And then after that, then I've been kind of like using. Let me link to the delivery issue for this, because I'm working off of this test bypass Nginx for WebSockets. So I would say Delivery work is tracked in here. And I added a comment at the end of that issue today to kind of give an update on where things stand. I expect that, we have the ability to well, I'll show this at the demo, but we have the ability to bypass Nginx. So now it's just a matter of hooking in HAProxy so that we can use it instead of the Nginx ingress controller, use a new service endpoint.
Okay, cool. Okay. Okay, so sorry. So on this load balancer type one, we can do all of the work ourselves. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
We're doing all the work ourselves right
okay,
now.
cool.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Cool. Nice. And then we've got this other one about allowing the option to override monitoring unicorn service. When does this become a problem?
Let me share my screen here. I submitted an MR to just change the default in the application itself so that we don't need to make a charts change. And I don't know, other than Ben, I'm not sure who to send this to. But I think if we just change the default, since we already are doing this on GitLab.com, it seems reasonable that we can just make the application default 5 seconds and then there's nothing more to do.
What will be the indicator if that's not true? How will we know?
I'm not sure I follow. How will we know?
Will there be errors somewhere, or what would we be?
Well,
able to
the thing is that we're already setting this to 5 seconds on GitLab.com, and we have been for a year. So this is like a no-op change. It's just a matter of making it so that we don't have to change the default in charts. The problem here is the application defaults to 10 seconds. For virtual machines, we override it and we set it to 5 seconds because the Omnibus package allows you to do that. The charts don't allow you to override the default. So as we've been moving services over to Kubernetes, this unicorn sampler interval went back up to the default, which is 10. What I'm hoping to do here is just change the default in the application to 5, and then we don't have to think about this anymore.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense.
What I don't know is how I can get this change merged. I could try bugging maintainers to see, but I was hoping to get input from Ben. He didn't respond to my ping, and I haven't talked to him.
Can I ask a slightly silly question?
Yeah.
Why are we worried about something called unicorn_anything in a Puma?
That's actually a really good point, and I didn't even think of that.
I mean, I might just be, it might be reused now or something, but I wanted to check that was the case.
I kind of assume it's being reused, but
it's probably worth checking.
I'll look into that. Yeah, good catch. I didn't even think that this might not
you
even
might be able to dodge a bullet.
Yeah. Okay.
I also question if this is actually a blocker for anything at the moment.
I just checked, and it says if GitLab runtime unicorn, then use this.
Okay, well then we can just say this goes away completely, and I don't even know if I want to bother now.
Oh no! Didn't want to discourage you, Jarv.
Well, I mean, if it goes away, I have other things to do. I'm not going to spend time on it.
Cool. Okay. And then Pages is progressing. Oh, nice. Thanks for adding that, Maren. Change issue for migration and staging is open. Oh. Do we need to?
You ask who's the DRI. There is no assigned DRI just yet from the infra side. Jerry is looking for someone, and he needs to sync with Brent on it.
Okay.
Cool.
But I don't know how much you followed. The team is looking to run a rake task because they are unsure of the impact if they put it as a background job. So that's
Yeah.
why they need someone to help them out with just like randomly running array task in staging so they can see some impact, and in production as well, partially.
I'm just wondering if there are going to be race conditions here where, we're syncing data to object storage while the data is being updated on disk.
They claim that that shouldn't be the case because that was already asked, but they obviously can't claim with any certainty until they actually start seeing
Okay.
larger volume of data flow through.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Anything else either on those or any additional blockers people want to mention?
While I'm sharing my screen here, let's just take a quick look at the labeled issues. I think we already talked about these. This one we can remove, and then that, yeah. So I think we're good.
Cool. So over to you, Jav.
Sure. Unfortunately, I can't do an end-to-end demo today because of HAProxy config changes that need to be made. What I can show you is that, we created the service. And I'll just share my screen. So here you can see that we have the GitLab web service, WebSocket service. Now we have 3 services for web service. We have Git, Web, and WebSockets. Git, just to remind everyone, is used for all Git HTTPS requests and also is used for the internal API endpoint for Git SSH. And the web is the catch-all. This is just like anything that doesn't go to Git that's routed to the cluster will go here. Right now, it's just WebSocket connections for interactive terminal. This will eventually move to WebSockets as we start changing our HAProxy backends to point to this. You can see it's not a cluster IP, but it's a load balancer, and it has an external IP, which is actually an internal IP, which is what we'll tell HAProxy to use. One of the major differences between what we had previously and what we're going to have is that with Nginx, we're connecting on HTTPS to the cluster. Now we're going to be connecting directly to Workhorse with port 8181, which is listed here. These other ports are for Unicorn and also, Puma, and also the monitoring ports. The configuration is really simple. There's not much. Now that we have the charts change in, so right now, the way it works is under web service, you have deployments, and then under there you have the different, the split for the different deployments. For web service, you have WebSockets. We set the service type to load balancer. We have a firewall rule that prevents anyone from connecting to it outside of the internal network. This is just added safety. They wouldn't be able to anyway, but it's just like a layer of security. We say it's an internal load balancer. And then for the ingress, we just set a no path because there isn't a path for this. It's not used in the Nginx ingress. That's pretty much it. Any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I have a comment. I wish you luck with the HAProxy changes that need to happen inside of the cookbook. They look daunting.
Yeah, it's going to suck because we pretty much hard code HAProxy to use port 443 everywhere. And this configuration is already a mess. So we'll have to make a toggle that will say use port 443 with SSL or use this other port to use the Workhorse port. It sucks.
Is there a way to do that safer?
No, I mean, the safest way is for us to make a toggle in the cookbook that will just say use, well, let's see. I have to think about how we're gonna, what attributes to create in the cookbook for this, but it's something we should be able to switch back and forth on.
Something that passed, and I don't know if this makes sense or not, but the last time I was looking at that HAProxy config and I got the the hair on my arms standing up, and because it's
Yeah.
scary.
It's scary.
And the one thing that I kept thinking was I would feel so much more confident if and I know that this is probably totally over the top, but if in the test you could almost boot up HAProxy on a config and test like the routing against HAProxy, but I think it's too hard. Like
it's
something
difficult.
like that would make me feel so much more confident.
We do have a test kitchen. It does boot HAProxy with the configuration just to make sure that the config parses, but that's pretty much all it. That's pretty much all it checks. And it's also tricky because there's a lot of different configurations that we allow for. What I'm doing now is I'm simplifying it a bit by removing configuration. That's the removing the option to toggle configuration. That's the default. So that will help clean it up a bit because we do these migrations and then we like enable a feature and then we don't go back and clean up the option to turn it off because it's so maybe that'll help a bit, but yeah, it's going to be messy.
Will we still get all the logs we need as well? Like, do we rely on Nginx for any logs?
We aren't currently looking at Nginx logs, and we aren't collecting them outside of the sync
we have them in
for
BigQuery, and they are used. They are used there.
Yeah, but I mean, the fact that we won't have Nginx anymore is not going to make our observability any worse.
I thought you said, I thought Amy said HAProxy, not Nginx. Sorry, I'm probably getting confused. The Nginx logs are not used. So.
Yeah, Nginx, I mean, they are going, I think through Stackdriver, we do have them. And for the VMs, do we even like collect Nginx logs? We may not. I don't even remember now. Just doesn't do a whole lot.
We did at one point, and they were super unuseful. They like the default sort of Nginx format, which is like horrible. And so they're very I think we might have turned it off because they were so useless.
I don't know if we'll have any surprises with the change that we're going to be connecting directly to Workhorse from HAProxy instead of going through Nginx first. I hope not, but we need to be careful with this transition because it's not something we've ever done before.
Yeah, well, let's make sure we work out like what all the steps are and how we'll check. And is there a point of like no return seems a bit extreme, but like is there a point where it becomes more dangerous to go back or anything like that?
I don't think so, because what we can do is we can run simultaneously. We can run the internal load balancer and the Nginx ingress in parallel. They don't interfere with each other, and then it's just a matter of toggling HAProxy to use one or the other. And we'll do this on Canary first, run it there for a bit, and then we can roll it out slowly.
Cool.
Will we ever be able to get away from HAProxy?
I don't know. So right now, it seems like we're moving away from that. Like we're going, like we're putting a stronger dependency now on HAProxy, just because we're not happy with Nginx.
Yeah. Okay.
I think for I think if there's a hope
better, I guess.
Yeah, if there's a hope for getting rid of HAProxy, I think it'll happen on registry first. We could maybe get rid of it there, or maybe pages as well.
I would argue if we could figure out and sort out all the necessary hooks we push into HAProxy from the security side of things and all the ACLs we've got and the whitelisting we have, with the work that Craig, that you know of, has been doing that we're implementing on Monday, if we could push more stuff into Cloudflare, I would argue that we probably could get rid of HAProxy at some point in time. Not a small project, though.
Yeah.
And we'd also want to clean up our services to make sure that we're not exposing unnecessary ports right now, because currently the same ports that we use for everything, the monitoring, that can't be exposed to the outside world.
Right.
But firewall rules, those exist.
Mhm. Okay, that's it for my demo. Should we move on to the discussion, Amy?
Yeah, we sure can. Unless anyone else wants to demo anything else today. No, okay. I wanted to ask about corrective actions. So we have quite a few. Just try and share my screen. Sorry, I've like completely lost the ability to use a browser. Genuinely.
Happy Thursday.
Thanks. Cool. So I was just trying to find it in the handbook, but I couldn't. But I believe all corrective actions have a set priority. Are they automatically S2s, Maren? Like, I feel like this is written down somewhere, but I couldn't find it.
I guess it depends on who you ask. Like if you're asking delivery, you know my approach to corrective actions. It's always a P1 and it's always do it immediately. And if you're asking everyone else, everyone has their own definition.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, definitely within delivery, I'm talking, yeah.
I think like we should use severity for sort of like judging how like critical the corrective action is, and then maybe use P2 or P1 for all. If we really want to take these seriously and get them done as quickly as possible, then I think we should make them delivery P2 or delivery P1, and then maybe keep lower severities for just so that we can kind of get a sense of like where it sits relative to the other corrective actions.
Sure. Okay. So should we say these are all P1s?
No, come
Why
on,
not?
that's.
Why not?
I mean, if it's not a corrective, so if it's not a top priority corrective action, is it a corrective action or an improvement?
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah, like I think it's, if we have an incident this afternoon, and one of these actions could have prevented it, how do we feel?
It depends on the severity of the incident. Like if it was a Sev3 incident and some of these are corrective actions for Sev3 incidents, I don't think it's a drop everything and work on it. Maybe it's a priority 2, and also if everything is priority 1, then how do I know what to work on first?
Sure. Okay.
Right?
So we're saying priority
I mean, if they're all P1, then you find a buddy, hug him or her, and then you start like pounding on the first item that you find, and then go to the next one, and the next one, and the next one. Jarv, I know where you're coming from with the severity, tying it to the severity of the incident, but this is not only about the incident itself. It's all about what also goes around the incident. So how much effort did the SR need to exert to actually do something? Did it have like downstream impact and so on and so on? And to avoid all of those, this is why in delivery at least, I always wanted to make sure that corrective action has a very clear definition and it's always a top priority.
Yeah, I mean, to me, if everything is P1, then I should be not working on anything else until this list goes down to 0.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Even if they're P2, to be honest, because after a P2, we're prioritizing them against pretty much everything else as well. So yeah, I think we should clear this list down before we go on.
So
yeah,
like, for example, for the issue I created 2 weeks ago, you can clearly disagree with me and say, look, this is not really a corrective action. This is an improvement. We are going to be seeing this is not as impactful as well. And I'm happy to remove the corrective action issue and lower the priority or change the priority.
No, I'm going to keep working on it. I picked it up.
I
It's been a
picked up my
pain.
the issue I created mostly because I want to make a point there, right?
It continues to be a pain. It blocked Alessio right before this meeting started. I think it's necessary that we fix that particular issue. There's a few items in this list that I don't believe should be corrective actions, but I don't know if you want to talk about that
Yeah,
here
go for it. Which
or in
ones?
some other place. Create a chat ops command, the second one in the list. We have the ability to do that on the command line. I think having a chat ops command is just a nicety that it does not need to be a corrective action.
What do you think, Jav? You created it, so let you comment.
I I think sure. I mean, I made it a corrective action because it would have helped with the incident, and it's tied to an incident, and that's what I think. Like maybe we should maybe redefine corrective. I don't know. Like but I guess if we're saying all corrective actions are P1, then I would say it's not a corrective action because I don't think it's a drop everything and work on it.
Was it something like, so from helping on the incident, was it something like documentation would help? Like if we had a run book, would that help?
We have a run book to use the
Yeah.
command line interface for this
Okay.
exact functionality.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I'm fine removing it and trimming this list down.
Okay, let's just make sure that fits in with the incidents that threw these out in the first place. Yeah, if we get I think if we've got corrective actions, let's get them resolved. So
How can we better align with the other infrastructure teams on this? Because it just seems like the other teams aren't treating
when they
corrective
start
actions the
treating
same way.
corrective actions and doing something about them, then we can align. Until then, it can be a free for all for them.
Okay.
yeah, I think if we're taking corrective actions in our team, like yeah, let's treat them as priority things that prevent new incidents happening.
I wonder if we need to refine the definition of a corrective action. Because there are certain things that are highly irritating, which may not necessarily fall into alignment with a corrective action, but they are irritating enough where if it causes me to have to redo a lot of work, I feel like it ought to be a corrective action. But I think that's part of a loose terminology that needs better refinement, in my opinion.
Yeah, if we go with the label definition, a lot of these aren't corrective actions because it says issue that is born as a corrective measure after an outage to prevent further reoccurrences. Well, some of these don't fit that definition. Like it's not like resolving these aren't going to prevent future occurrences. They're just going to help with the troubleshooting and dealing of the incident and maybe shorten the time to resolution. But so if we want to use that strict definition, then maybe we should just remove corrective action labels from some of these.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that's fine. Like, I think, anything that we want to do to improve stuff, like keep the issues open and we can prioritize those. But yeah, if it's not something, if us not doing this work isn't likely to, throw up a similar incident in the near future, then absolutely fine. Cool. Okay. So let's review those labels today so that we actually have a list of things that we need to get through, and then we can clear down all of our corrective actions before we continue migration. Cool. So Jav, do you want to talk about action cable?
Yeah, so I just kind of want to make sure we're still moving forward with action cable since there's a lot of visibility into this. There were two things that came out of the readiness review. One was Prometheus metrics, which I think we're kind of like okay with this not being a blocker, but maybe needs more discussion. And then the other one was additional load on Redis, which is something Andrew raised. It sounds like to me that we don't think this is going to be a blocker, but it's concerning, right?
No, Heinrich pointed out to me that it's actually quite a different mechanism compared to other WebSocket servers that I've used in the past. And so Redis has got like this publish subscribe mechanism, which is super lightweight. And that's all it's using, where like Faye has got a much more complicated system, which puts a lot of load on Redis. So, oh, and the other thing that's really worth pointing out is that if it became a problem, because that publish subscribe mechanism is totally stateless, like it doesn't store anything in Redis, moving it somewhere else is trivial because you could just, you know, restart on a new server and it would be really easy. So I'm really, my concern is kind of, Heinrich convinced me. I wrote something like that on the readiness review.
Yeah,
I don't think it's
I saw that.
anymore. Yeah.
Okay. Like, I don't think it's trivial to move, like spinning up another Redis cluster is unfortunately not trivial for us.
No, but sort of my concern was that, you know, if it was like Faye, where there's actually messages stored in the Redis server, if you want to move it, it's a whole lot of work. You've got to basically, you know, communicate with both, and you know, it's a very complicated process. Whereas if all you're doing is Redis publish pubsub, you know, you can kind of, if we spun up a new server, it would be very little effort to migrate those clients, if you know what I mean. So it's all I'm saying is I don't think it's a problem, and if it was a problem, it's very low risk. So you know, to move it at a later stage. So I think just keep it on the persistent box, and my concern is totally annulled by Heinrich's point. Sure,
and in general, like, do we need to raise some flags here about our Redis saturation on the Redis persistent cluster? It looks
actually funny
bad.
because Sean, actually the Tamland report just came in, and actually if you scroll up on that issue just a little bit, like that's what Tamland's, sorry, there, like Tamland says it's going down at the moment, but then actually when you drill into the server, that doesn't seem to be the case. And so I just got a message from Sean where he's saying, well, maybe we should close this issue. Like maybe there's no longer a problem here. And I just pointed to this and said, well, there's something strange going on because Tamland's saying it's going down, but when we looked at the actual data, it doesn't look that rosy, right? So where we are right now is I do want to look into that. But I don't think it's within the scope of this meeting, but I think we should try to figure out what's going on. Also during this meeting, I saw that Igor just opened the Epic to upgrade to Redis 6, and I think that will make a big difference. So yeah, that's probably the first step that we can take in that direction.
Okay, so we just need to decide then whether the Prometheus metric issue is a blocking issue. What is your opinion on that, Andrew?
I think it'll be fine, especially if this is something that's coming in gradually. Like, as far as I understand, it's like one feature at a time that's using the WebSockets. Is that correct?
That, and also we could, and we can roll it out slowly with the feature flag.
Yeah. So in that case, I think it's fine. The proposal that I put together, I think it's getting a little bit of like shove around, but I don't think it would take, you know, I don't think it's a lot of work to add that. So, but I don't think we have to wait on it. Like, as we discussed in our call on Monday, I think we can just go with the 500s of, like, if action cable is 500ing, that'll give us sufficient like visibility, but obviously there's other failure modes with WebSockets. We can get those later. So, and I was looking at the notifications that you get through Rails, and there's some about like rejections, and you know, we could probably build up some SLIs around that. That would give us the kind of insight that we need into WebSockets, but it's fine for now to just use 500s, I think. There was, I don't know if this is the right place to talk about it, but there was some discussion around sending messages back through WebSockets to the servers, like as a potential future thing. And that, and then sort of making changes, and that gave me some cause for concern, because obviously at the moment we've got logs and we've got, you know, all of our metrics and everything, and when things come in through HTTP, it's really nice because it's logged and we can track what's going on. But if the clients, you know, if the browser clients start sending like Rails controller actions through WebSockets, we shouldn't be doing that until we've got like logging on those actions and proper metrics and everything. And the model that we used with Gitter was we looked at that and we decided against it. And so outbound stuff always went out through the WebSockets, but then on the way back, we always went back through the API for that exact reason. And I think that we should maybe push back on that stuff that Heinrich was talking about, just because if they start sending commands to Rails in through the WebSocket, it's totally invisible to us. And we don't know like how long the calls are taking and if they're failing and all of that. So I don't think they're doing that yet, but that's just something for the future that I think we should push back on if possible.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like we don't know which feature team would even be working on this, right?
We haven't found a team yet.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like the team that is working on the feature should be working on this type of things as well. But hey, I don't want to talk blasphemy now.
Yeah.
Which team was working on this feature?
Memory.
No, yeah, was it? Or Heinrich's team, whatever that team was.
Okay, yeah. It wasn't. I don't think it was memory, but I can find out. Yeah, I think it'd be nice to have them at least in the backlog, right? So.
Yeah.
Plan, found it.
Okay. Go. All right.
You know, it's almost as if every development team should know their metrics, feels like, but hey, again, blasphemy and all. But Jared, did you get your answer? Like, it feels to me like we're not really blocked anymore then.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, I think we're fine. So the main blocking items are kind of in our court, which is trying to get this WebSockets deployment set up, and then we can turn on the feature flag.
Awesome. And I really like your approach of maybe like sending some traffic, like rolling it out slowly.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Cool. Is there anything else anyone wants to bring up today? No? Okay, fantastic. Great chatting to you all. Enjoy the rest of your days.
See you.
Bye.